I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. It was kind of difficult for me to pick this novel up again. As I'm pretty sure some people noticed, the last video ended up being age restricted. I just did not feel comfortable having some of the stuff that was talked about in that finale be viewed publicly. Now that I think about it, I could have easily just released, I don't know, put like a link for people to actually see the whole thing. But there were just some parts that felt so out of pocket and just so... There were certain things that just made me feel insanely uncomfortable. However, I told myself I'm going to try to get the rest of the endings for Chaos Head. And thanks to Time Axis, I was giving a good non-spoiler guide on how to achieve this. It's going to be interesting. But the good news is, well, I guess it could be considered good news, I guess. I do believe we're going to be starting on, well, I guess this is going to be called the Nanami route. I'd like to take a brief moment to warn you guys that I made a horrible mistake. Instead of starting a brand fresh new game, I made the mistake of loading a previous save file, which had negative consequences on the actual intended viewing order of what endings that I was supposed to do, including the fact that I overlooked an ending I'm supposed to do before Nanami's route, which means this video is probably going to be one of the most confusing messes I have ever done, and I only realize the mistake I make at the very end, because I am not a smart individual. Say goodbye to all of that character development, and we're going to go back into a less likable Takumi. Also, I will admit, I'm not entirely sure how to translate this guide, so be patient with me. Oh, that's what it is. Okay, so I was like, what the fuck does no, yes, no, yes, yes mean? I think that's referring to the 5 questions I had to answer during the, that section where Takumi was stuck on, like, that roof and all of that. Okay. Alright, so from what I understand, I have to choose a positive delusion here. And I guess the good news is I can kind of start skipping, I believe, once I go through this, because I already am fully... I already know what the freaking delusion's gonna be, so give me a moment, I'm gonna do some skipping. You know, I'm not gonna lie. This statement right here is probably my best way to describe that quote-unquote positive delusion, because I'm gonna be perfectly honest, that was fucking disgusting. Oh wow, apparently even he's disgusted by it. I'd zoned out and let my delusions run wild again. I'd never felt so disgusted with myself in my life. Like, OMG barf. Just totally barf. And then I started thinking, maybe if we weren't blood related and she fell a little more into the cute little sister archetype, I wouldn't be such a virgin loser. Oh, for fuck's sake. God damn it, man. Oh, so interesting. I can't skip this. Okay. Because according to this, I have not read this. After finishing her colon, Nanami shot me a confused look. I've been acting weird because of my delusion just now, and Nanami had noticed. I'm going to keep the skip mode on just in case. Snap out of it! I took a deep breath and forced the disgusting thoughts out of my mind. There we go. That's much more like it. To the skipping! Okay. Another part that apparently we haven't seen. Right. I couldn't take my eyes off of her either. It was like I was suffering from... This is going to be the weirdest thing where people were... It's just going to be like, oh, there's going to be weird skipping sporadic moments. There's not going to be much of a coherent story until we actually get to... Actually, according to this, the route will officially begin in chapters. Oh my god, I have to skip so much! Suddenly, girl A opened her mouth. She seemed like she was trying to say something. But everything else was so loud, there was no way I could hear what she was saying. I was completely entranced. All I could do was stare at the movement of her lips. Whose eyes are those eyes? Because of course! A chill ran down my spine. There was no way she'd just said that. It must have been my imagination. I sucked at lip reading anyway, so I'd probably just gotten it wrong. I shook my head, trying my hardest to look away from her. Either way, Girl A had definitely said something. Whatever it was incredibly creepy, especially considering the two of us had never met before. I needed to stay away from her. Skimparoonie! Oh, right. Okay, this time I chose no delusion. Okay. Different here. I just couldn't put my finger on it. I definitely felt like I'd seen them before, but I just couldn't remember where. Was my memory really that bad? I'd always been confident in my memorization skills, and they never failed to help me score well on my tests. I was pretty smart after all. So why were they failing me now and at such an important time? Or at least, that what felt like one. Where had I seen them before? Oh yeah, the betrayal of Yua. There better be a Yua. Oh, wait a minute, I see in the guide there is a Yua route. Perfect! I felt that if I took a closer look at the Gyro Froggies, maybe then I'd remember. As for what would happen next, though, I didn't know. But I just wanted to stop feeling so hopelessly lost, so I almost subconsciously extended my hand and reached for the bundle of Gyro Froggies. Skip. Suddenly, Yua slapped my hand away. Huh? What just happened? I was completely dumbfounded. Yua looked away from me, then awkwardly started to get up off the bench. But as she did, her hand hit the 3 Gyro Froggies that were hanging from the bag. And then the reveal. And then almost in slow motion, her bag slowly fell off the bench and crashed to the ground. The bag was unzipped, so all of our notebooks and textbooks spilled out onto the ground. And then it fast forward! No delusions this time either. I had to wait 3 hours before my name was finally called. It was a different examination room than the one from 4 years ago, but when I stepped inside, I was welcomed with a face I remember dearly. The doctor was exactly what you'd think of when you imagined a kind old man. His face definitely looked older than most, yet also soft at the same time, and his demeanor only served to emphasize those qualities. He hadn't changed a bit since I'd last seen him 4 years prior. It almost made me wonder if he was physically incapable of getting any older, though I'd never known his actual age in the first place. The desire for me to latch onto him and never let go became stronger and stronger. I could rely on him. He could save me. I felt incredibly happy to see him again. But the first thing that came out of his mouth was... Right. His voice was indeed gentle, and filled with a kindness that to calm the hearts of others. However, it didn't carry the same familiarity that it had back when I'd been visiting the hospital regularly. Oh my god! Holy shit! This takes on an entirely, oh my god. This takes on an entirely new meaning now that we know why he doesn't recognize us. How would he? When we're not, when our real potty doesn't look like this. It felt like he was only interacting with me on a purely professional level. So I couldn't help but tell him my name.
西条です。ん？ああ、これはご丁寧に。高階です。はじめまして。
Oh, he couldn't even get the full name out. He only referred to himself as Nishijo. Ooh. Ooh. Oh, and now we're skipping. Woo! You are not worthy of my attention, whatever you are. Get out of my sight!
西条さん、起きてください。時間ですよ。
Huh? Seraton softly placed her hand on my chest and gently rustled me awake. Ah, now this is the kind of thing I've always dreamt of. Living together with Seraton, I'd have her wake me up every morning wearing nothing but an apron, complete with a wake-up kiss.
西条さん。
Gotta wake up. It's the new gen killer waking you up. Sorry. I slowly opened my eyes. Hello there. Someone was looking down on me from above. I accidentally made eye contact with them. It was the nurse, Hazuki-san. I frantically looked around myself. Just like before, I was lying on the hospital bed. So everything from when Seiran had started talking to me was just a dream.
おはようございます。
Ohayo gozaimasu.
結局3時間ぐっすりでしたね。
Nice. A full 3 hours. But it felt like I hadn't slept any more than 5 minutes. As I rubbed my eyes in a daze, Hazuki-san glanced at me before covering her mouth as if she couldn't hold back a smile.
セイラさんって彼女さん？ずっと寝言でつぶやいていましたから。
Well, that's embarrassing. Even I could tell that I was going pale. I'd made one hell of a mistake. How could I have let someone hear my sleep talking? What's more, of all things I could have said, I blurted out Seiran's name. Fuck! So this is despair. I want to die.
でも無遊病の症状は結局出ませんでしたよ。
Oh. As she opened the curtain, Hazuki-san conveyed that to me. And then we Oh! Oh god! The fucking skipping! I keep forgetting that. Just... Holy shit! The unholy amount of skippage that is going on right now is utterly fantastic. Shut up, Sarah! You're not welcome here! You are not welcome in my sight. You bastard! I will kill you, Suwa! Before I knew it, I was rushing outside. This time I chose no delusion for the Ayase thing, so... I ran down the stairs outside Gigantes and crouched down on the bottom step. I tried my hardest to catch my breath and calm down, but to little avail. I really shouldn't have gone in there. My heart was pounding, my entire body was drenched in sweat. I'm not having a good time right now, okay? Just give me a minute. Misumi-kun had followed me. He sounded upset. Shush. I mean, she's nice, yes. Without looking up at him, I shook my head. Who cared about that? Sure, she was cute, but I wasn't into 3D girls. And more than anything, those lyrics. I hadn't caught everything, but from the little I'd heard, there was no way they hadn't been talking about the new gen cases. Of course, there was no definitive proof. But Fez definitely knew something. I could feel it. I couldn't tell whether or not she worked with the demon girl, though. Oh yeah, back when he referred to you as the demon girl. Whoa, hold up. The girl, now dyed a brilliant red, looks back from beneath the full moon. But I mean, she looked straight at me. That hadn't been a delusion, and it wasn't a misunderstanding on my part either. There was no doubt about it. Fez had looked at me. Just what were the emotions swelling in her eyes? What meaning did they hold? Why had her expression looked so painful? I didn't know. Maybe I'd find out if I asked her directly. But that would never happen. I couldn't set foot in that concert venue ever again, let alone speak with Fez. Wiping the sweat off my forehead, I managed to squeeze out those words. Ah. Very well. Fast forward? No? Okay then. I logged straight onto ESO as soon as I got back from the Phantasm concert. The potato chips I had with me were already soggy, but I couldn't care less. They were still surprisingly tasty. Oh, there we go. Now we're getting to the skippage. And then without me even touching the keyboard, Neidhart, who had been standing with his back to me, suddenly turned toward me. Or so it felt. Oh my god!
なんつって。
Really? In the end, I'd stared vacantly at the monitor for over an hour, but Neidhart stayed completely still the entire time. You're having way too much fun with this, aren't you? Well, I myself am enjoying skipping everything! Well, let's skip this. We're not doing a delusion. Girl B looked down at me coldly. This chick wasn't normal, waving a sword around in the middle of a crowd. Wait. Was she in the midst of a hit and run? Was she a spree killer? Or could she be the new gen culprit? Or the demon girl's accomplice?
助けて。殺さないで。
The next thing I knew, I was trembling. It felt like I was this close to pissing myself out of sheer terror.
何を勘違いしている？私はただ見えるのかと聞いているだけだ。
You mean your sword? What the hell was she talking about? If I said I couldn't see it, would she kill me? How was I supposed to answer if I didn't know what I was supposed to be seeing?
少し落ち着け。もう一度聞くぞ。この剣。ディソードが見えるのか？
Maybe. D-sword? It was the first time I'd ever heard that word. It had to be referring to the sword she was holding, but... Skipper! This is gonna be a delusionless story today. For right now. Naturally, I diverted my eyes, so I'd only met her gaze for just a second.
見つけて。早く。剣を。
I'll try to. Or I'll try to. Oh, fuck, am I even gonna get the sword in this route? Suddenly, Fez spoke. Very little energy could be felt from her apathetic tone. I had no idea if those words were directed at me or Misumi-kun.
剣。で。
そうすれば君は救われる。
Somehow I doubt that. When she finished whispering at what seemed like no one in particular, her eyes returned to the floor and she began to walk away. She slipped straight past me and entered Class D. Misumi-kun and I watched her go, the two of us completely and utterly lost.
なあ、タグ。
What? Misumi-kun was very clearly sulking. In the end, despite his efforts, Fez hadn't paid any attention to him at all. It must have been pretty rough to have had her completely ignore his entire existence. He kind of has it coming. The dude's a womanizer. But I was used to that kind of thing.
俺はここまでプライドをズタズタにされたのは初めてだ。
You'll get over it in like 30 minutes. As soon as another girl kind of swings by, you'll immediately try going after her skirt.
自信なくすぜ。くそ。
Shut up, Battler.
ちょっと有名人だからって調子乗りやがって。
Oh, really? Shut up, Battler.
あんな不愛想な女、もう二度と相手にしてやるもんかよ。
This is the real reason you were kicked out of the family.
あー、うぜえ。だいたい何が剣を見つけろだ。わけわかんねえ。
A sword. Could that possibly be referring to that mic stand thing she'd been using during the concert? Come to think of it, there'd been another person a couple of days ago that had interrogated me about a sword. Skipperoonie? Skipperoonie! Bastard, I want to shoot you! Oh, please let this be the route where Bond survives. I doubt it's gonna happen, but there's like another part of me that's just begging for there to be a route where Bond is alive. You! Sorry.
見つけて。早く。剣を。
Whoa, what the?
そうすれば君は救われる。
Ooh, something changed! Something changed! That wasn't there before. Suddenly, I remembered those words. A minor difference. Oh, that's really good. I forgot that music was in here. Sorry about this, Nanami, but don't you dare remind me about that damn thing. That's gonna freaking break my heart. It couldn't be Misumi-kun or the demon girl. They'd both been right in front of me when I'd gotten the call. So if it wasn't, then the only other possibility would be Iwa? But she shouldn't have known my phone number. And besides, there was nothing else for us to talk about. Time to just get it over with and listen to it. I examined my surroundings, making sure the demon girl wasn't there, then put the phone up to my ear. Oh yeah, this shit. As soon as the horrific incident happens. I kind of want those boxed lunches over there if you don't mind, sir. No one's coming out. I tried restlessly looking around the store. No one's coming out. I took out my wallet to make sure I had change. No one's coming out. I picked up the boxed lunch and set it down again, making a small noise. No one's coming out. I couldn't get myself to call out excuse me or anything like that. I couldn't even if there was no one here. No one's coming out. I thought about testing to see what would happen if I tried to leave without paying, but then I decided that it wasn't worth the risk of getting arrested. No one's coming out. The employee must have gone to take out the trash. No one's coming out. Or they were checking the inventory in the warehouse out back. No one's coming out. Guess what? Nobody's coming out! Except for you! In a wheelchair. And also wrinkly and old. Because a horrific condition. Also, bodies hitting the floor because that happens. Oh, here we go. I should probably say something. Maybe a greeting of some sort. But it wasn't like I ever greeted people normally. It would be even more unnatural for me to suddenly start doing it out of the blue like that. Maybe I should bring up the transfer student. But it wasn't like I ever chatted with Remy normally. It would be even more unnatural for me to suddenly start chatting with her out of the blue like that. I could thank her for the day before yesterday? No, before I did that, maybe I should apologize for being so rude to her after she'd done so much to help me? I mean, I could also ask her about why she'd been there back then. I could ask her if maybe she'd hugged me because she liked me. Or I could ask her about why she was at the site of the crucifixion. No, none of these topics were conversation starters at all. Ow, what was I supposed to do? The silence put more and more pressure on me. I knew I had to say something, and I knew it'd be awkward to stay silent, but I still couldn't force out any words. I hated the 3D world so goddamn much. I was tired of almost choking over just trying to talk. I just wanted to hurry up and go home to my comforting Seirutan. Hello! Remy's voice suddenly broke the silence. I jumped in surprise and a shudder ran through me. I still couldn't look up. Remy's voice was quiet. I felt her breath faintly on my ear. When I looked up in surprise, I realized that she'd moved her face really close to mine, and she was now whispering in my ear. Remy's body was right next to mine. The soft, warm body that hugged me in the middle of that road. My mind was going completely blank. The only thing I could think of was the sensation of Remy's body against mine. I nodded frantically several times. Yes, ma'am. Upon telling me that, Remy made to leave the classroom. I felt the sudden urge to ask her something. She just said something dangerous like that. I wanted to ask her, back then, what did it all look like to you? And then it skips Rudy's again. Also, hi, Senna. No delusions today. This is a serious conversation that we are having. That's because we're skipperooting a lot. Which I believe that once we get into the actual thick of it with the actual Nanami route and all of that, there probably won't be a lot of skipping, which means we can actually enjoy the story. Although what I could do is I could just have skip mode permanently on, just in the off chance that whenever chapter 6 rolls around and we're actually put into the route, just in case there are repeat scenes. Just in case. Hi, Ayase. Bye, Ayase. Hi, Ayase. You gonna show me your power again? I believe this is the part where you do the demonstration of the sword summoning. Yes, it is. Oh, I love the fact that visual novels have skip modes just for situations like this. And then the story of him showing off the GE rate, which I'm starting to realize might have been a bad thing to show off to Sua, because now Sua's probably going to paint a target on Bond's back, because I believe it's at this point where, like, as soon as Bond starts to kind of get, like, an idea of what's actually going around with the actual world, that's when Sua kind of separates himself from the group or separates himself from Bond, and then is like, you are just targeted. I am going to find the perfect opportunity, and then I'm going to kill you. I stood up abruptly, threw my bag over my shoulder, and looked toward the door to the classroom. Only to find her standing there, looking at me. I instinctively screamed. At least half of my classmates were still in the classroom. Every one of their icy gazes pierced me at once. Stop it! Run! Don't look at me! Run away. Please don't look at me. Get out of here! In my pure state of panic, I blew past my classmates and burst out of the classroom via the door Yua wasn't standing at. Oh, wow. With no real destination in mind, I found myself in the courtyard, but the second I set foot in it, I was hit by the strong urge to vomit. I tried to hold it back, but it was no use. I fell to my knees and outspewed the contents of my stomach. Wow. Skip. I picked up the toy D-sword sitting in the corner of my room. I went to stand in the center of my room and brought my sword to eye level like I was an ESO character. Alright, I just need to picture an image of a sword in my head. Oh shit. Rimi was looking at me. Our eyes met. She was grinning at something. I could feel my face turning red. As per my usual habit, I'd held up the sword as if I were alone in this room. It must have been pretty painful to look at from Rimi's perspective. Oh, I want to die. I calmed down and lowered the sword. I was too embarrassed to look at her. I'd rather not dig myself any deeper than I already had. I could only hope that she'd be gracious enough to pretend she hadn't seen it. If she did, I'd even be willing to get down on my hands and knees for her. My thoughts were then interrupted by Rimi striking the final blow. Ah, shit. I shook my head no. Maybe. Once again, I shook my head. This time, I nodded. Actually, that sounds nice. I shook my head vehemently. I'm telling you, I'm not playing samurai. Because I'm embarrassed. I'm very much embarrassed. Don't laugh at me. You're laughing at me, aren't you? Isn't it obvious? I'm embarrassed, damn it. You saw something you should never have seen. The pure pain and suffering a man underwent when his girlfriend found his porn stash. It must have been comparable to what I was going through right now. I do not know how. That is a wild fucking statement. Holy shit. Oh no, does she hate me now? I didn't know if I could ever recover from that. I had to clear up the misunderstanding. Rimi was writhing in delight as she tightly hugged the Seraton body pillow that sat on my chair. I thought she was gonna make fun of me, but judging from her attitude, she seemed to mean what she'd said. In other words, Rimi had just unintentionally moed over me. I felt relieved. She didn't hate me. Oh, thank goodness. Well, but then we skip. Woohoo! Hello there, everybody. Welcome to our episode of Speedrunning a Visual Novel. where this is just gonna keep on going until we get more new stuff. There's gonna be there's gonna be like big bunches of silent space that I'm gonna have to like cut out. But I'm kind of wondering, like, there are probably some people that are like, oh no, you need to go over the scene again. I don't know. Beep beep. I'm talking to myself at this point. This is the weirdest thing about being a Let's Player. I am literally just talking to myself to a computer screen as if there is somebody near me right now. It is a very bizarre sensation. Also, is this the moment that I kind of break down and then no, I don't think it is. Okay, no, it's not. Hi, Momose. Listen, anytime I get to see Bon makes me happy, except for whenever he's dead, which makes me sad. I only want to see Bon be happy, and I like Bon. All right, this is when the shit initially hits the fan, like the big earthquake and the white fog pops in, and then people die because evil CEOs. Oh wait a minute, that's a little bit. I think that's a little bit of Oh, you know. Oh right, I think this is the part where I have to choose the answers, or we're getting to the point where it's gonna make me choose the answers that I have to answer for this story. Okay, so it says, as I progress, a intermission will appear during the story. The skip mode will disengage during these scenes. Okay, good. I'm glad that there is at least a safeguard to prevent you from missing over vital information whenever you're changing routes. I am grateful for that. Anyway. So far, every time I'd murmured that, Rimi would show up with perfect timing, and yet despite that, she wasn't picking up the phone. My gaze wandered around the room, eventually landing on the fake D-sword leaning against the corner. I grabbed it and held it in my hand, clinging to the little hope I had. It was just a toy. Ayase had assured me of that. But I want to think that maybe, just maybe, there was still a chance. As long as I had a D-sword, I could be saved. I could even strike back against Shogun's attacks. So please, I beg you. I held up the D-sword and focused on the tip. Please become real. Please save me.
D-sword. 真の姿を現せ.
I closed my eyes tightly and directed all of my strength into the hand grasping the hilt. Silence. I slowly opened my eyes. Nothing had changed. It was just a toy. I violently threw the toy sword on the floor and began to pace around my room. Biting my nails, I searched through my possible options, but I was so overwhelmed by terror that I couldn't even think straight. I tried to think harder, but my head started hurting again. So there was nothing to do but go back to the computer. And then we're back to skipping around. You can't prove it! Oh shit, she's trying to prove it! Oh boy, we're gonna get to see the part where I get to see the horrific hand and then the screams. Nanami still wasn't answering. Please pick up the phone already. Maybe I should call my parents instead. That'd be the fastest way to get a hold of her. Ignoring the mysterious ringtone I had been hearing the last few seconds, I hung up the phone. And then it stopped. The mysterious ringtone stopped. My room suddenly grew quiet. It wasn't completely exact, but I was still sure of one thing. The song stopped. At almost the exact same time. I'd hung up the call.
なんで?
I was becoming more and more confused. Not knowing what else to do, I started looking around the room over and over again, but no matter how much I looked around, my brain refused to process any of it. I was making myself dizzy. My mind had gone completely blank. Once again, I tried calling Nanami. Maybe this time the ringtone won't play, but Nanami will answer the phone. In my days, those were the faint hopes I clung to. I remember because in this section, I chose a positive delusion to see Nanami out on the top bunk, but it didn't happen. I will stand by this. Unironically, this is a legitimately horrifying, scary moment. Like, it is unsettling. Only for those hopes to be swiftly crushed. Less than 2 seconds after the call started, the happy-go-lucky melody started playing once more. There was no mistaking it. I couldn't divert my eyes from reality anymore.
この部屋にある
Nanami's phone was in this room. But why? Had Nanami forgotten it here? Or... Yep, we're skipping this because that reveal is legit horrifying. Okay, so even in the Nanami route, she still loses her hand. Alright, this should be the moment that it's up to me to pick out the choices for what I'm supposed to... Or, yeah. This should be the moment where I have to pick out the card answers. Okay, here we go. So we skip this. It sounded like fans cheering from the bleachers at a soccer game. Or maybe a volleyball game. The entirety of the DQNs who had gathered in Scramble Crossing had all begun chanting in unison. Maybe this is a planned part of the event, or maybe Shogun had mind-controlled them into doing it. They all followed the same rhythm as they raised their hands overhead and shouted the same words. They were all... insane. I was horrified. The chant wasn't stopping. In the midst of their chant, I could hear the high-pitched voices of female DQNs. As I listened closely, I noticed the one thing they all had in common. They were all making fun of me. To them, they were just having fun and laughing at to their heart's content. Everything was fine as long as they were having fun. A festival dedicated to my sacrifice. A true shit show. All I wanted to do was join in, make fun of myself the way everyone else was. Every last one of them was a DQN. Nobody would be coming to my rescue. Everyone who'd come here wished for my death. Crowd psychology was going to kill me. Not out of hatred or fury, but simply because that was what everyone else wanted to see. And now we're skipping. Should be going up to where we have to answer the specific questions. Here they are. I saw a sword. No. I saw something that looked like a sword. Yes. If I move from here, I can take it. No. I can see the sword from other places than here. Yes. What? No, I followed the steps. What? What part did I miss? Oh my god, is it gonna make me have to do an entire... boy. There are probably some people that are laughing really hard at me right now. You're supposed to start over from the beginning. Okay, so apparently I answered differently whenever it came to that weirdness about swimsuits, glasses, and high-knee socks. I thought I answered the same thing, but apparently I didn't. So, this is not skippable, which means something different is happening. Sunday, 3 a.m. at cafe. Despite it being the weekend, the sounds of someone tapping away at a keyboard echoed through the building, undeterred by the late hour. Sitting inside room 37 was a boy, facing a computer monitor. The boy remained still and unmoving, and instead of sitting in the provided recliner, he sat in a wheelchair. Oh, this is the moment that, Shogun shows up, huh? Alright, Grim.
これは
The fact that Grim was talking to Neidhart to friggin' Taku this whole time. I mean, now that we know who Grim is, like, really puts her messages into a really, really fucked up light. The boy finally stirred, ending his period of motionlessness. His eyes, hidden beneath his cap, pierced through the screen. A nearly inaudible whisper left his lips.
これが次のニュージェネの妄想なんだね。
New Gen's next delusion. Oh my god. Once he was sure the user known as Grim had exited the chat room, the boy began to take action, draping his wrinkled hands upon the keyboard. His mission was to get into contact with Neidhart, to warn him, and yet to strike fear into his heart. A distorted expression weakly crawled onto the boy's face. In that moment, his expression may have appeared pained to an outside observer, but in reality, it was quite the opposite. The boy was smiling. He had contacted Neidhart, and Neidhart had responded. A casual conversation to most, but a miracle to him. Oh, talking to himself that he created. His hands suddenly froze.
思い出して。君は知らないだろうけど、知っているんだ。
An enigmatic whisper, spoken as though it were directed toward Neidhart on the other side of the monitor. Returned to silence, he began typing once more, this time writing out a single mathematical formula. IR2! Fun to the 10th power times intelligence to the... I'm sorry. Sorry. The images. Oh my god. I should have started just a fresh file. Loading a save file was never in my options. God, that changes things. Although the real question is now I'm just kind of worried about what's going to happen with when Hazuki shows up, because I think I changed my answers, which is why this is here. Neidhart failed to reply. From this, the boy deduced that Neidhart must have clicked one of the links he had pasted again and again into the chat window. It might have been strenuous for Neidhart, but it was something that he had to show him at all costs.
怖いかい。でもだからこそ、君は目覚めることができるんだ。
Speaking those words to himself, he sent his final message. Whose eyes are those eyes? Without waiting for a response from Neidhart, he logged out of the chat room. A small sigh came from beyond the wall, followed by a light knocking sound. Is that Remy? Oh, signs that the occupant from the room beside him had stood up from their seat, and before long the door to his cubicle, room 37, was opened. The girl didn't smile. Her expression remained grim as she took hold of the handles of his wheelchair. It is totally Remy.
もう一人のあなたとは接触できた。
Yo! Oh my god! His answer to the girl's question, which had been asked rather abruptly, was brief and concise. Still, being well attuned to the boy, the girl was able to sense a hint of tension in his tone.
何かあったの？
西条匠に接触してきたのは僕だけじゃなかった。おそらく監視がついている。
Yeah, oh my god!
そっか。
And just like that, I'm suddenly re-intrigued to this damn story all over again. She didn't speak another word. She simply pushed his wheelchair toward the front of the cafe in silence. Oh, now we're back to skipping around. All right. Okay, yet another difference right off of the bat here. Okay. I think I have to answer this the way that it wants me to. Hold on a minute. Can I... Give me a second. Oops. Go back to the beginning. Okay. Wipe over this file. Okay, this did not happen. Oh, right. The guide did say this. Once you reach the first ending, certain delusions will now appear with yes or no prompts on your next playthrough. As a general rule, in order to reach a character route, you must enter a specific delusion for each character and answer its subsequent prompts correctly. Okay. Okay, this is gonna be interesting because there is one route. Let's see. This route is the sole exception to the rule mentioned before. Rather than simply selecting a certain delusion and answering the prompts correctly, it requires a number of specific delusions to be viewed. Starting a new game, then view at least 10 of the following 18 delusions, skip any route question prompts you might encounter along the way by giving only yes answers, and avoid the batting in Chapter 6 by answering those questions. Do I need to do this ending? Because if so, then I need to go back and restart this. Actually, wait, no. Wait a minute, no. I think I did, okay. Okay, never mind. I guess we're not doing the Nanami ending. We're just going to see whatever the hell this one is called. All right. So I guess I already did the I felt bad, and that one required a neutral. 2 neutrals, 2 positive. Oh, wow. That's a... Okay, this is a bit of a... Ooh, okay, this is, Oh, shit, this whole video just focused on me just doing everything completely wrong. Can I even count this as a fucking video? Well, fuck, I already wasted most of my recording time to this, so... Well... Shit. Fuck it, I'm literally just gonna do this as its own video, or later. Fuck it, I'm out. Bye. I'm done. This is headache-inducing.